You'd think, with the number of museums there are in Beijing, there would hardly be the need for yet another one showing off the history of the city as an imperial capital for hundreds of years. I had been in the northern capital for over 2 years before someone asked me what the Capital Museum was like, and I had shamefacedly to admit I'd never been there. But such things are easily remedied, and a cold, smoggy morning sees me taking a subway to Fuxingmen on Line 1. The Capital Museum describes itself as a relatively new and important museum in Beijing's central administrative and cultural district. The collection was originally housed in the Confucian Temple. Work started in 1953, but that museum was only opened to the public in 1981. In order to accommodate a larger collection, however, a new museum was built 20 years later and opened on May 18, 2006. 8 years ago, it had an area of nearly 25,000 square meters, with 5 floors above ground and 2 floors underground. But it seems that it simply can't resist the urge to expand, and now, as if by magic, the floor area has already reached over 63,000 square meters. As usual, you can happily ignore what you read on the majority of Beijing's copy-and-paste websites. There's no fee to get in, and you don't need to apply for permission in advance to visit. But what you do need is a form of ID, a passport, driving license, Mickey Mouse fan club card, or whatever. On the other hand, if you allow Y, the second best way of getting in is to talk English very fast and animatedly, and the lady behind the desk will soon be waving you through unceremoniously. If you're into various kinds of cultural relics collected extensively over the past few decades, then this is the place for you. Bronzes, porcelain ware, calligraphy, paintings, coins, jade objects, seals, needlework, Buddhist statues, and a plethora of other pieces of cultural relics are on show from the museum's 200,000-plus collection. As is normal in China, the tourist blurb gushes forth and will either have you going, "Oh wow," and reaching for your camera, or leave you with a "heard that been there, got the t-shirt" look on your harrowed face. The new venue costs some 1.23 billion yuan, or $147 million, and it's said that it can accommodate 2,000 visitors daily. But it's cold and grismal outside today, and I reckon there can't be more than about a tenth of that number of people. The Capital Museum is second only to the National Museum in terms of size, and it's said that to see all the exhibitions should take up at least 4 or 5 hours. I should perhaps at this point admit to the fact that I'm really not that much into exhibits of things that have been dug up after having been buried for thousands of years. But if, unlike me, old bronze work is your cup of tea, then you should head up the stairs and go to the 4th floor, where there are sets of bronzes on display divided into 2 groups. Those of the Western Zhou dynasty prior to 771 BC and the Eastern Zhou dynasty from 770 BC that lasted another 500 years. Maybe jade is more likely to float your boat? If so, you'll find over 180 pieces showing its brief development. Many items on display were unearthed from noblemen's graves and have rain marks and emperor's poems carved on them. Among all the exhibits, the imperial jade seal of Qianlong, the 4th emperor of the Qing dynasty, draws the most attention. This white jade seal with a circularly carved dragon was made in 1791 for Qianlong's 80th birthday. It was the emperor's private seal and used to be stamped on the emperor's many famous calligraphic works and paintings. Or perhaps one of my favourites, a ewer in the shape of a bird dating back also to the Western Zhou dynasty. Over in the Square exhibition hall, on the other hand, on the 5th floor, is a much more user-friendly and frankly less boring exhibition. This is the exhibition of folk customs, where you'll learn quite a bit about the hutongs or alleyways and sohuyuans, or traditional Chinese courtyard homes, in Beijing, together with folk customs such as weddings, celebrations of a baby's arrival, and various other festivals vividly presented. We are told all about weddings and what happens on the first marital night. Well, maybe we don't learn everything that happened, but you get the idea. Wedding ceremonies, for instance, always went through a complex series of rituals passed down through the generations. Take the bridal sedan chair, for example. The bride would always be welcomed with a bridal sedan chair, regardless of her family's financial condition or social status of the families. We also get to see an embroidered belly undergarment from the Republic of China period, but I'm still trying to work out how the girl would wear one of these contraptions in the first place. and whether her new husband would find the tassels a tease or a turn-on. There were all kinds of masks too. This one, we are told, is in the shape of a girl. Thank goodness most of the ones I meet nowadays are a lot more attractive, and it dates back to the Qing dynasty. Shoes were always an appreciated present, and a pair on show with a tiger head toe cap also dates back to the Qing dynasty. Patrilineal aunts would present a child with shoes, while matrilineal aunts would present socks, which to me rather takes away the fun at present opening time, don't you think? Oh, thanks, auntie, it's a pair of socks. Wow. Nope, I just can't see it. In the Republic of China era, baby boys would be given a tiger head cap, while girls received a lotus flower cap. Moving into the pantry area, you'd also be likely to come face to face with a rendition of the kitchen god. I hate to think what this god thinks he, she or it is doing with a fish between his, her or its legs, but it certainly appears to have had some kind of effect on his, her or its lipstick or moustache. Moving down to the 4th floor in the Square Exhibition Hall, you can enjoy a collection of 262 Tibetan and Han Buddha statues on display, most of which had never been shown to the public before. Chinese Tibetan Buddhism is a sect which came about from the amalgamation of the Esoteric sect of Indian Buddhism with Chinese, Mongolian and Tibetan traditional cultures. Along the corridor from the Buddha collection is an exhibition of sets of porcelain ware, which focuses on porcelain from the Song, Yuan, Ming and Qing dynasties. Or, to put it another way, they were all made sometime in the past millennium. I'm not normally a fan of porcelain vases, but I have to admit a fondness for a blue and white covered jar with a goldfish and algae design dating back to the 16th century. What I am a fan of, however, is collections of black and white photographs showing life a century or so back. There are a number of shots, for instance, of the business streets found in Dashila during the Republic of China period. My favourite pick in this display has to be of the now long-defunct archways at Dongse, whose only claim to fame nowadays seems to be as a junction between lines 5 and 10 on the subway system. The next thing I come across is an aerial photograph nicely displaying the central axis that runs through the capital. Beijing, we are reminded constantly, is a world-renowned ancient capital, rich in cultural heritage. There are plenty of other exhibits to whet the appetite, but in case you have not yet been satiated, there's also outside in the street, ignored by most passers-by, one of Emperor Qianlong's many imperial tablets dating back to the 18th century. Made of white marble, it's 6.7 meters high and weighs 40 tons. On the 4 sides are 2 epigraphs in Chinese and Manchurian written in 1753, the 18th year of his reign, carved in Qianlong's regular script. In retrospect, I have to say that the Capitol Museum is unlikely to be everyone's cup of tea, but maybe you should visit it for yourself sometime and make up your own mind, rather than just being an armchair traveller.